Not doing. There we go. Welcome everyone to the July 24th, 2025 Coordination Circle for the Lifeboat Academy. And this is our first consolidated coordination circle. So we are implementing a slightly new plan here, but we stick with the same the rituals that work for us. And so we start with a land acknowledgement. And so I will take on the land acknowledgement today. And again, I will channel Norm Leach. And in particular, I have been thinking very much in the last couple of days about the idea that the land can accept our burdens and that it is there, in fact, for us to put our burdens down, and that in nature there is no waste. So when we put our burden down, it passes on and becomes food in a mysterious process. And there is no waste, there is only nutrition. So when we acknowledge the land at the beginning of our meetings, it is always to bring perspective and to remind us that we are part of something that is much, much larger. And not only is it larger, but it is uh well, it is there for our support. It is there to hold us and to hold everything that we anything that we can do, it can take. And so we remind ourselves that we are all in this together, that I am all my relations, and that we are always in a constant process of reciprocity, that the land is literally in our cells, and what is in our cells becomes the land again. And so we start our meetings that way to bring our minds together so that we uh, we are reminded to to be in right relations with all of our relations. And in doing so, we are drawing on deep and ancient indigenous wisdom that is comes from many different cultures and all says the same thing, which is we are part of something that is we are a part, we are meant to be here, we have a role to play. And so in working together, we try to discover what that role is and how we can be in right relations with ourselves and each other and the land. And a reminder that we are encouraged to do what we can, where we can, when we can, to heal any harms that may have happened, and to, at the very least, try to cause no further harm. So specifically, we also owe a debt of gratitude to Indigenous cultures and our Indigenous neighbors who are still among us, who are still working hard to heal the wounds that have been caused by colonization and oppression, and to revitalize their culture. And in doing so, they help us by demonstrating what is possible when a culture heals and when a culture is in right relations. So, with that, I encourage us to take a moment to connect, to land ourselves, to ground ourselves. So, just take a moment where you are and get comfortable. Take a moment just to be a body in a place, a body on a seat. Take a moment to feel the gentle tug of gravity and the supports that are coming up to meet you. Reconnect with your breath, which is in itself reciprocity. Breathing in what our green relations exhale and exhaling what they need for their own metabolism. Drawing in oxygen that fuels every cell in our body and releasing carbon dioxide, which spreads to every part of the atmosphere. So feel the energy on the in breath and the relaxation on the out breath. And maybe just take a couple breaths like that, drawing in cool, refreshing energy and letting go of anything that no longer serves you on the exhale. And then when you're ready in your own time, come back and join us in the circle. All right. Does anyone have a good check-in question? All right.
Maybe a really simple one like, why are you here?
That simple, is it?
Simple isn't the same as easy.
Good point. All right. The check-in question, why are you here? And the circle as I see it, April, Ronnie, Roland, and me. So April, over to you. A little check-in. Why are you here?
Because I was missing seeing all of you and conferring around our mutual goals. And also because I'm really identifying these days around purpose and location. And there's something about that that accrues to this as well. And on to Ronnie.
I'm here because it's one of my commitments, and it's one of my commitments because it matters to me, and it also nourishes me. Over to Roland.
I will ask them to stop.
Sorry, no, it's okay.
No?
It just stopped now. I just couldn't. There's a skill saw operating, and so I think just when it stopped is when it was passed over to me, and I just saw everyone going quiet, and I was like, that must be it. But then I had to find my mute button to unmute myself to be able to tell you that I can now speak. Oh, I think coming into contact with people who come from the business as usual world uh, confirms for me that it is madness and folly to continue to try to live in the world, in the business as usual world. And even though it's difficult to try to be sane, I don't want to be insane like everybody else. That's why I'm here. Ben.
There we go. We're just in between skill sawing. So um my cheeky answer is you have to ask my mom and dad because I'm not entirely sure. But why am I here? Here, um, yeah, I think come for the company, stay for the cult. Um, really enjoying. I enjoy you all very much, and I find this circle brings me comfort and peace of mind because being able to confer with you and get your input and get your perspective really, really helps me. Like at a fundamental, my neurology can settle down better after we meet than before. So that's why I'm here for my own mental health. Um, And can you hear the saw in the background when it's going? Okay, so it's just on our side. Okay, cool. Um, let's check in on the agenda. Um, give me a second to bring this screen up. We have a couple items on the agenda and we are doing things a little bit differently, but I'm still sticking with the same idea of the agenda. And so we'll work through together what it means to have the all-in-one coordination circle meeting. And the way I see the agenda so far, in putting it out as proposal, and then we'll go around and people can add any thoughts. Start as usual by revisiting our North Star. And I am proposing today that we focus more on strategy, on how do we see us getting from where we are to where we want to be, just because it's an aspect that we don't always talk about. And then do some updates. There's a couple things that are sort of in between updates and business items. One of the updates is just reporting back about our Gumboot boot camps and how things are going and where we seem to be with that. The other big thing to talk about is the starting to seek outreach on the bylaws, using the bylaws as a way of getting outreach and how to coordinate that activity. And then talking about the newsletter, getting ahead of the curve on the next newsletter to go out. So those are the proposed items on the agenda. And once through the circle, is there anything that you'd like to add? April, over to you.
I would like just an update on, did the Navigating via Tensions session happen last week, and sort of highlights of that. Thank you. Over to Ronnie.
I have nothing to add. Over to Roland.
You're muted. International Sign Language. All right, cool. So let's go over to the North Star, and I think we'll do the same thing twice around, once for first thoughts and then once to respond to what you're hearing from others. And we talk a lot about why we're doing what we're trying to do and why it's important and where we are, but we don't talk all the time about how do we get from where we are to where we want to be. So what, in your estimation, is our core strategy or strategies to move forward on the lifeboat? And of course, there may be some aspect of what it is we're trying to do that gets into the strategies. So that's also, totally kosher. April, over to you. Thoughts on strategy, and you can always pass and we'll come back.
Relational activities as a fundamental part of the core, and re-examining those, I think, from time to time. And just, I like to sort of question myself as well personally. Am I doing what I think I'm doing relationally, or am I doing something else? And over to Ronnie.
For us, it's the process. So leaning into, I'm really tired today, so my brain is slower than usual. Aim, act, reflect. Navigating the attention. Keeping space around things. That's what's coming to mind right now. Over to Roland.
Applying appreciative inquiry to what we've done before to assess if they're working, to decide what to continue to do and what to leave, or at least leave for now. Over to Ben.
Yeah, that all feels pretty complete. I think that part of the appreciative inquiry and the relational part also seems to, I want to say something about like the oral tradition and the engaging people in continually telling our story and inviting opportunities for people to contribute their part of the story.
Yeah.
So yeah, telling our story in an invitational way to invite other people to weave in their part. Cool. So we've all had a chance to go once around. So now our response round. What are you noticing? What's standing out for you? Over to you, April.
Well, I'm noticing some things that we've mentioned often, but I think this falls into the aspect of the remindering, which always is useful for me to be reminded of these. Sometimes I'm doing these processes and not even aware of it. So it's become part of my practice and who I am. Sometimes I'm doing them wrong. And I need a little somebody to notice that and help me with it. And sometimes I'm not doing them at all, and I just think I am, or I'm sort of going, oh, well, next time or whatever. So there's something about reviewing these that's just really important and is actually liberatory, I think, for me. Over to Ronnie.
In the vein of what April just shared, remembering biomimicry, and there's so much happening that we can't always see because you can't see the whole network at once. And similar to April, there are so many ways that our work has woven itself and continues to weave itself in my life and other places in ways that I'm able to contribute. So even if people aren't in the room with us, we're all in the space together and in the same giant ecosystem. Over to Roland.
And maybe, I don't know. I'm considering the original question. Yeah, it's interesting because where we want to be, and I answered that question with the assumption that we were all thinking the same thing, and I don't know if that's the case. Yeah. Come back to a few simple things. I mean, I'm thinking about things like making this sustainable and sustainable in an uncertain world, and we need looking for more people, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, because there's too much. There's a lot to do, and not enough hands. And I think in coming back to sort of what's going on inside, and feeling the tension and the stress that that's causing, just thinking about it, I'm just reminding myself that everything is the practice. And the few simple things is whatever I end up doing, whatever we end up doing, that my strategy is to return to the practice, and how to get to where we are to where we want to be is to return to the practice and keep it simple that way. Over to Ben.
Yeah, and there was Andy's talk this morning for Headspace was about basically accepting that sometimes things are unpleasant, and that, you know, it's overcoming, it's all the second arrow about, you know, things are unpleasant. Sometimes things are hard, sometimes things are stressful. Fill in the blank. And that's just how it is. And you can either make it harder or work with it. And I think that's the practice for me. That kind of feels like that's the practice is, um, and it's the, you know, good news, bad news, who knows, or the barrier, the bird, sorry, the obstacle is the path. I think that's also coming back to the practice of appreciative inquiry and AMAC reflect, you know, okay, this is our best bet. Let's give it a try. Okay, that didn't work the way I thought it would. Some parts did, some parts didn't. So it's making me think of the equanimity, curiosity, equanimity, and playfulness. And maybe it's also that the practice is twofold. It's funny, I feel like I've become anti-binary and then introducing a new binary because I think there is something about recognizing there is the practice when things seem to be flowing, and then there's the practice when things aren't. And when things aren't flowing, the practice is don't feed the fire, put space around things, you know, let the waves settle. And when the practice is flowing, it's keep on keeping on, you know, balance the buckets or something like that. Anyhow, very interesting. And we've all had a chance to go through twice. Do people want to do another round, or should we thumbs up if we want to move on? If not, we can, there's always time for another round. Alrighty. So then coming back to our agenda topics, Gumboot Bootcamp update. We are coming up to the end of this cruise time here. And it's been really, really interesting. I mean, like the whole arc of things. I want to try to give a quick update. So high level summary. We've had this crew for the most part for about a month with, you know, people coming and going. And Ollie and Isaac are going to be leaving on Sunday and Monday, and then Laura will be leaving somewhere around the end of the week. So we'll go from having a whole bunch of people here to not having anybody here. And I think we've pretty successfully tested a lot of the Pharmastery components. We haven't tested everyone arriving at the same time and leaving at the same time. But we have tested the schedule. We've tested the priority setting, and we kind of tested the badges are much further developed than they were, and I think we've tested the idea enough to know that the woofers really like the badges. That's a very popular, it has a lot of traction. And I think we're zeroing in on actually so I've got a badge grid. I don't know if you can see like with the badge grid and a personal this is the sort of the schedule for the week, and then on the backside is your personal badges and which ones you're going to work on. And we've started to work on what I'm calling the badge book, where each badge has a one-page sheet. This is the purpose. These are this is the checklist of things you need to do, and here's some references or notes. So that's all going really well. And I think we've accidentally discovered that there are some real peer leadership opportunities. This group, two of them just really took on, you know, they were hungry for taking on some leadership. They've taken on projects on their own. They've helped with onboarding. So all in all, I think it's that part of it's going really well. I think, we're coming up against capacity limits, both some material ones in terms of water, food, the cost of the food, um, and also definitely we've come up against Roland and my, our capacity to be the host and faculty and host and caterers and etc. for a crew. So I think, and also the 10-day idea of the boot camp seems pretty good. After I mean, and it's a balancing kind of things, because I feel like we've really kind of hit a stride with this group. They really are. Like today, I needed to really focus on computer stuff and meetings, and was able to talk that through with them, and they were all self-managing, and I think lots of things got done today, and I didn't even get a blip on the Slack channel. So yeah, I think that's my debriefing so far. And Roland, over to you for anything you'd like to add to that.
Well, one of the things that we've been talking about is the value of, I guess next iteration would be to having a mix of people, that it isn't sustainable to have only woofers. But it is valuable to have a woofer or two mixed in with paying people to make it sustainable. And the mix, I think, is important, because as in nature, diversity is valuable. Um, One of the interesting things that came through with this group was, I think, something that I would encourage us to continue to do, and which is taking 5-10 minutes in the morning
Yeah.
before huddle to review different parts of the welcome guide. They were very interested um, uh, in in sociocracy. They're really interested in sort of the different bits and pieces of how we work together. And it told me that um, uh, we don't have to have a classroom where we sit people down and teach this stuff, but taking little moments like that to be able to talk about it, to bring up lived examples, of people's stay on the farm, is also really useful, because then there's just that kind of connection with the ideas. And in terms of the food, it has been interesting, and this is a little bit the business as usual of like, well, I want to make this, so even though things are not from here or are out of season, can you get them for me? And just structurally, I've been thinking around how to bring people, and I'm thinking about it, what we're doing as subsistence farming, which has this connotation that you're just eking a living out of, dusty, unproductive soil. But really, subsistence farming is eating what you produce, eating what's available. And so that's what we're working towards. We're not even at subsistence yet, but we're getting there. And so just like ways of doing that, like, if you want to cook, these are the things that we have, like actually a list of things that we can get. And then I think that will maybe reduce the amount of negotiating or the amount of sort of my internal struggle of like, do I say yes to this or not? Anyway, so little things to add to the system. That's what I would like to add. Over back to you, Ben.
And I think to April and Ronnie for questions, comments, observations. April, over to you.
Yeah, I think the negotiations around what is possible and what makes sense in the context that you are in will probably always happen, but having some clearer guidelines about here's the philosophy that we're working from, here's the cupboard with what's in it, how do we match those up, and go from there. And your ability to manage people and their tastes and their wishes and their perceptions is good work, you guys, in being able to work with that. Over to Ron.
Some people
I
were
can't
very,
I can't hear you.
uh-oh. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, that's weird. I just remember seeing on other farm profiles on the WOOF website, some of them were very clear about the food that you get and the types of food that you won't get. And that might be a way to set expectations at the beginning. And they were like, if you want to go out and buy chocolate bars, you can do that, but we're not going to do it. Anyway, I'm really excited that the badges are happening. That's awesome, and it sounds like it's working, and people are excited about it, and there's a system. And I wonder if part of the reason for that is having a bigger group for a longer period of time, so people can really kind of get into things and not feel rushed. So I'm really happy that that's working, and I'm curious how it will continue to evolve over time. I really like the subsistence farming idea, and I think going back to the food thing, and also thinking about myself as I am starting to grow more food every season, putting some of those restrictions in place helps train us psychologically to get used to that. So when things become more dire and restricted, we're okay, and we know what we have and what we can get. Obviously, that will change over time, but I'm just thinking about that for myself as a really useful practice. And the last thing is I really like the mini sociocracy reviews. Instead of sitting people down for half an hour or an hour, just having those, now that I'm doing organizing in some other groups, I'm thinking about, well, what of our materials could we review before a meeting, especially as new people join? What would be useful to just kind of keep ourselves refreshed in a way that is really digestible. So,
yeah,
I'm grateful for that. And I'll pass back to you, Ben.
Sure. Do we need any additional comments? Anything else that people want to get out there? Just popcorn for a second. Rolana, if you're talking, you're muted.
I think it would be interesting to talk about the number of days for the boot camp and the number of guests, especially with the limits that we've come up against. like what would make sense for the next iteration to do. So if we had room somewhere to toss around ideas and stuff like that, it might be useful. That's
Well,
all.
and I will piggyback on that. A consideration is how do we transition away from woofers to something that is more controllable? Because at this point, we put out that we wanted people to sign up for this 10-day thing and no one did, or no one signed up for the 10 days, but they signed up, they were interested in it, but it was we didn't have a lot of control. And partly that's the woofer site, as opposed to if we were offering this as a retreat that, you know, like this is a package retreat. It starts on this date, it ends on this date. So for me, that's part of talking about how many days and how many people. I think the other thing too with the how many people is I'm not sure how much we've had such an unusual circumstance this summer, having Justin and Angie here with the baby and an unrecognized leak early on that, you know, so I don't know how much to trust what we're learning from the well. And for me, it's still this open question. But I think it's definitely something that we need to play around with. But for me, the primary question is how do we actually get enough people in a lump that we can try, you know, like yeah, those are I don't know if those are even thoughts. It's just a consideration on that, April.
I'm going back to the badges idea now, and I'm quite excited too, in the same I think Ronnie talked about. And it occurs to me, I mean, once people understand how the badges relate to what they're doing, where they are, that seems to be a bit of an on switch for people. I'm wondering for guild activity overall, where is the on switch? When do people start to understand that there is guild activity that will happen in a certain way if you're at the pharmastery, but there's also guild activity that happens outside of that. And I'm not sure how clear people are on either of those things. But again, the excitement and the engagement, once people understood the badge thing, is there a way to reverse engineer that to get more engagement with the idea of guilds and then the actuality of different kinds of guilds that just floating around somehow? Thanks.
Yeah, it's actually one of the interesting things that came up as we were starting to work on the badge book is we wanted to have like badges associated with guilds, but it's hard here because what makes sense for the guilds, we have our online, you know, we've got the 5 lifeboat guilds, but those are not really how the buckets work here.
Yeah.
And there are some guilds here that aren't online guilds, and so it is an interesting question. And it's also, yeah, I'm not sure. It's a good question, and it's not a question I could answer right now. I don't think there's clarity about for the folks who are here about the relationship between what they're experiencing right now and any kind of online stuff. And again, that's a woofer thing also, because that's not what they're here for, you know? Yeah, April, back to you.
Yeah, and I mean, this is also a systems question, right? And to be able to look at those questions, you have to sort of conceive of a system of which you're in this piece at the minute or this piece at the minute. And woofers obviously don't have to know the system and enable in order to woof, I guess. So that's just another set of things then, really.
Any other thoughts, ideas on this topic before we move on? Roland?
Yeah, I think when you were asking the difference, the reaction towards the badges towards versus the guilds, I was thinking one of the differences is commitment versus reward. With the badges, you get an acknowledgement and you feel like you get something, but with the guilds, it is, we're not calling them committees, but we are calling them meetings, and so that's a commitment to something. So I think that's probably at least one factor in the difference in the reaction towards them. That's all I wanted to add. So that's around the badges, but in terms of the can you hear that? No, okay.
No.
Okay, now keep talking then. In terms of the types of guests that we attract, somebody mentioned a website called Retreat Guru, and it may be like so it may be looking into into things like that, like and Retreat Guru is actually a place where you can ask for payment, and then for other volunteer types, there's also the Workaway, which I haven't really looked into, but which I think is also volunteer, but so I think that there are other ways of promoting it, and maybe moving towards an older and a demographic that would be able to contribute to the financial sustainability of the project. That's all. Over and out.
Any other thoughts? All right, navigating via tensions update. I can't remember any of the particulars, but I remember it went really well. I think there were 4 of us, and Pam is interested in the next one. And my thought is, I mean, I feel like it's a format that works. And I think it's mostly a question of getting people used to coming. But I don't have any, I think Ronnie and Alana, you were both there. So any updates on, what are your updates, your impressions?
It was a navigating via tensions circle. That's all I can think of. I don't really remember specifics of it. So I don't really have anything to contribute other than it was one and it worked well. The end.
Ronnie, anything to add?
I found it to be directly useful for me in my local organizing here. I had a conversation with someone the next day from my church, because we've been talking about organizing people to do more mutual aid stuff, and I was able to articulate what parts I want to do and what parts I don't want to do, and what I could contribute and what I could not contribute. And that was very useful. And it was because of that conversation that helped me distill, I guess, what was inside me that I hadn't been able to access clearly. So, yeah. Wait, I think we went out of order. No.
Yeah.
Sorry.
This is always the danger one. As soon as I start to popcorn, I just go into popcorn mode. So let's come back to the circle. And April, was that satisfying, or do you have any questions or follow-up?
I don't. I'm satisfied. Thank you.
Cool. All right. So outreach for feedback on the bylaws. Um, we, oh wow, there's all sorts of things here. I did some work apparently and totally forgot about it. So we are in the process of rolling out the bylaws. We had a meeting with Steph, with Becca, Roland, me, and Steph last week, this week, some point in the recent past. It went really well. We got a lot of good information from Steph. She's still very interested. She has changing commitments and needs, but she gave us all the details. And she is open to alternative financing kinds of arrangements. If we can figure out what, she's not going to come up with them, but is open to them. And so we also kind of came up with this idea of at the bottom here, we have a list of people that we already have had conversations with around the bylaws. This list may expand, but I think, I think it's everyone, but there might be some other people that get added onto the list. And the idea is that we're going to try to prioritize it from like sort of phase 1, phase 2, low-hanging fruit, people that we really want to get involved, and then other people that may have some information or be able to, point us to other people. So that list will probably change as we go, that we'll add some more people in there. But we have, from sending the bylaws to Steph, we have a little bit of here's a template more or less for the email. And the whole idea in the email is inviting people to a conversation, recognizing that bylaws are dry and people might need a little help, guiding their way through it. And in that same vein, I have been working on refining the PowerPoint. We basically have a pitch deck, and I spent this morning actually refining the pitch deck so that it mirrors the language in our bylaws. And the idea that I have there is that I would actually record probably like a 20-minute walkthrough on the PowerPoint that would just be available, that we could keep, have a link in the email. So people, if you want some context, here's the context, here's the bylaws, when do you want to talk? And I think in this, I would like to make a request I can do a lot of the heavy lifting here, but I need some support. Some of it's just hand holding in, following through and connecting with people. And yeah, I think, and likewise guidance. It's really hard for me to maintain any perspective on this because I'm just so buried in it that it's really hard for me to know what do people need to hear, what's extraneous. So, getting more active feedback in the materials that we're producing to sort of roll out would be useful. And likewise, this is the bylaws, anyone can send them out, and we can be available for, questions. So if people have people that they want to add to the list, then that's also useful and relevant. Roland, anything that you want to add?
No, except that, of course, Ben and I live together and we talk about this and we do things together around it. So I think this is more of a question for other people in the group than it is for me because I'm already doing stuff.
Yeah. So, April, over to you for questions, comments.
So you're asking for some support. in having an objective view of the
Mhm.
at this point. Do you need to have any specific expertise in order to do that? Because I'm certainly willing to have a look at bylaws and, you know, give an opinion, but I know nothing about bylaws. I've
Mhm.
avoided bylaws as much as possible in my life.
I wonder, Ben, if you have specific areas where you would need or want help, or things that you can't do where you need someone, and maybe that would make it easier to sort of divide and conquer.
I think a lot of it is hand-holding. We don't need any advice on the bylaws. In fact, now would not be a good place to add comments to the bylaws unless you also, are coming with a check. If you're coming with a check, then please do. But the I think where I haven't thought this through entirely, but I think if I could have like we used to do sort of like open office hours. I can't remember what we called it, but we were working, we all had a time when we were all working on some stuff at the same time and we weren't necessarily doing the same thing, but it was kind of like having a buddy to, I'm really looking for some support around I should just send out these stupid emails. And there are all sorts of ways that I trip myself up on the way to just sending out an email. And in part, it's because I'm not sure how much or how little context to give people. So that's actually, I think, where I need the help is like looking at the PowerPoint and looking at the presentation. Is it too long? Is it too short? Does it throw in unnecessary information? So in a sense, it's nice. It would be good to at least know how the bylaws are structured, just to make sure that there's a coherence between the, I guess it's sort of like looking at the PowerPoint and then looking at the bylaws and does it make sense that it's the same organization? Um, but it's nothing really specific. I think for me, I think what I'm mostly looking for is like some moral support. So, oh, and Ronnie, do you have any questions or comments?
Well, I'm wondering if we might want to set up a time to do this. For April and me to, for April and I to, for you to sort of present a Cliff's Notes version of the bylaws to us, and we can look at the PowerPoint together, and
Yeah,
then use Circle to strategize the email process.
that would be great.
Good.
Yeah.
How do we want to schedule that?
At this point, my calendar is widely open.
Okay.
So I am probably the easiest one. I bet April, you're probably the hardest one. Actually, no, it's probably a toss-up between you two. So,
I think it's I'm actually am pretty open next week because my boss is out of town and I'm gonna be sort of working, but sort of not. So, like Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday evenings, I have free.
And once you decide on a time that you can meet, um, we could also think through people that we'd like to invite, not to ask them when they would be available,
Yeah.
but to say we're meeting at this time. We'd
mm,
love for you to come. If you can make it, here's the link.
yeah. And then even if they can't make it, we can send you know, sorry you couldn't make it. Here's the link to the YouTube video.
Yeah, so we can sort of brainstorm people that we know,
Hmm.
that each of us knows in your own networks, that we might want to also pull in, or
Hmm.
maybe people that we already know, or I don't know, whatever.
And I think keep it easy. I think it's a good idea, and keep it simple, light, and easy. We don't need a huge list. It's just sort of like who else
Well,
would,
I'm thinking of Ruth
yeah.
in particular, who has a lot of interest and it has been involved in.
Yeah. So Ronnie, you said, what days did you say?
Oops, wrong week. Yeah, Monday through Wednesday evenings I have open, and then Tuesday and Wednesday during the day I have time, and Thursday during the day, and Friday. So it's a light week. What about if April, if you tell us when you're free?
I have some time in the morning of Wednesday, and Ben, you and I have a session in the afternoon,
Yeah, what time is that? 1?
1 to 3.
Okay. I just had the whole day blocked for that. So when did you say? I'm sorry, April, it was
The 30th, Wednesday. You and I have a session 1 to 3.
all right, but other than that,
And that I'd be willing to have a session at 10 o'clock. As long as I have Wi-Fi. I'm in Souk those days.
okay.
So as long as my tiny B&B house has sufficient Wi-Fi. Although I have a phone I could tether to if we really need to. But 10 o'clock would be good for me.
Do you have a backup date? Because I am totally open Tuesday and Friday, and Thursday we have the navigation session, but other than that, I'm open Thursday too.
I have no time again until the 5th of August after the 30th.
Okay. Did you say you have some time on Tuesday?
Let me look at Tuesday. No, I'm traveling all day, basically Tuesday.
Okay. Well, Ronnie, can you do, what would that be, noon on Wednesday?
Yes.
All right, let's just do that.
Okay, so 10 o'clock my time?
Yeah.
Okay. Great.
Great, and that gives you something to aim for. And so what I'm imagining is that we'll start, I'll send you both the bylaws. I'll send you the setup how we have it right now. And then we'll go through the pitch deck, and then we can sort of do a circle on feedback on that. All right, cool. Well, that's very useful. And do we have anything else that we need to cover around this? I'm feeling fairly complete. Does anyone else questions or awesome?
Oh, did we want to think of other people we'd want to invite at the time that you picked?
I think let me do the email, and then we can just forward the email,
Okay.
So go from there. Next and last up is newsletter. Ronnie, over to you.
Yes, it's time for a newsletter. That's kind of all I got. What do we want to put about boot camp? Do we want to keep the same boot camp date? Is boot camp shifting to whatever woofers are around? That's a question. Any writing that you want to go? What to put in there?
I have a new piece that is and it's basically the bylaw. It's kind of the context for the bylaws. So
It's good.
yeah.
Is it on Facebook? I think I saw something.
Yeah. It's a Substack post.
Okay. Is it just the most recent one?
Yep.
Okay.
Just yesterday, I think. Day before.
Okay.
Day before.
Day before.
Um,
Called A Modest Proposal.
nice. Nice. And then I'll put our new meeting schedule in there, our new simplified schedule. Yeah, so the biggest question is, what do we want to put for boot camp? And is there anything else kind of promotionally that we want to put?
I just realized I don't think the boot camp sign up sheet sends an email if people do anything. So I am gonna go. I just wanted to check to see that we don't have anybody who's signing up.
Well, and yeah, I think there may be a few people for the August boot camp, I thought. No?
Oh, Heather. Yeah,
Heather.
Heather Nugent.
Yeah. And do we have any woofers coming?
Not really. We have
Okay.
Paula could be Paula the woofer Paula, not Paula the friend Paula. Was tentatively scheduled to come starting August 3rd, next Sunday, and then staying through, actually not even staying through the whole,
But we
only-
haven't heard. We haven't heard.
and we haven't heard back from her.
Yeah.
So we don't really have any woofers, and we're kind of hoping that she isn't coming because it would give us a little bit of a break.
Yeah.
Um,
So I think Heather is coming. In my opinion, can I just jump in and just start?
go ahead.
Yeah. Is that okay with everyone? I think we still want to advertise for the August boot camp. We get to decide how many people we accept.
Mhm.
There's more than the number of spots. Because like we were saying earlier, we are coming up against limits of number of people.
Mhm.
And it would be nice for Heather to at least have a companion to do the boot camp with.
Mhm.
So yes, I would say, in my opinion, we want to continue with boot camp, and I guess the other part of your question, Ronnie, was is it just the same information or what is it now?
Mhm.
Which I think is worthwhile looking.
Mhm.
So do you want me to pass to you, Ben, or pass up to April?
Pass to April because I got a frog in my throat.
Okay.
And the question was
Hmm.
the newsletter?
What to put? Yeah.
I have nothing to add to that. Passing possibly to Ben.
Yeah, I think what Roland said, let's advertise it. Would be nice to get a couple people. I am half wondering about putting something on the, Retreat Guru for a last minute kind of thing. As a way just of trying it out. They never, I contacted the Wolf Canada site about actually kind of promoting the boot camp. And they were curious and asked a question, and I responded to their question, and they never got back to me after that. So, at this point, I think I'm totally fine with accepting a woofer in that, in a slot there, if that works. We could actually lock down our woofer registration, so it's only available during that period. So let's try that. Okay, we'll try to figure out how to do that. So is that covered? I think it feels like it's covered. We've got a new piece. We've got the info for the boot camps. We also, the Foodlands newsletter will be going out. It was supposed to go out yesterday and it might go out tomorrow. And we were featured in it with the boot camps. So we might get somebody that way, which would be really cool.
Just do you want to specify a number of spots that are open for the newsletter?
No, I don't think we need
Okay.
to. I mean, what do we say already? No more than 10 or something like that. I think
We're not expecting a deluge of.
no. And Roland's right. We get to say how many people we want to take. All right, so I think that is the newsletter sorted, unless any last thoughts there. If no, then I think we can wrap up a little bit early. So let's do, I still like my 2 rounds to go out. And so 1 round, any last unfinished business, any loose ends, and then a chance to just to check out. So April, over to you. Any loose ends?
No, all my ends are tight now. Thank you.
Over you to Ronnie.
Me too. Same. Over to Roland.
Hi, it's me. Maybe something to add to the agenda for next time is, I can't remember the name of the project, but like the $1 million
Yeah.
prize
Right.
project.
Food World.
Yeah.
Some.
So questions around that. I have questions also in terms of fundraising. I have seen a couple of times again recently reference to Melinda. Is it Melinda Bezos?
No. And it's not Bezos anymore. Bezos' ex-wife.
Right. Yes, who's trying to give away her money.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So maybe something to discuss next time about sort of update or getting back on track with some of that stuff.
Well, and I wonder, we can kind of talk about that. The application is, we put in our website and that we want to nominate ourselves. That's it. And the question is, if the step that we wanted to do beforehand was to make sure that the website and any of our existing materials match what they're talking about. We now, I feel like, have such, first of all, I love our website. I feel like it's this really nice crystallization of what we're doing. And we have so much online material that if they do any search on anything that we do, they're going to have more than enough material. So we could just go and nominate ourselves. That's it.
And what's it called again?
Food Planet Prize, I think.
So I would volunteer to do that.
Yeah, Food Planet Prize.
Maybe I can't remember, maybe I already volunteered to do it. If I did, I'm re-volunteering.
I will say, maybe at the meeting about the bylaws, we could take a quick look at the website to review what material is on there regarding investing, and if there's anything we want to make more explicit, like we're looking for this many investors, it costs this much, here's how to do it, just to make that really clear and impressive for.
Yeah. That's actually, you know what, I think we can, that's good. And we also can look at the existing materials that we have and pull together, we don't need a lot, And we've got a lot of material to work with. So, and where do things need to get updated or, you know, just language changed? All right, cool. That's great. And then we can add that to the next agenda, that general, you know, kind of review of investment materials on the next agenda. That sounds great. Awesome. Okay, so that's Roland's last loose ends, and I don't have any loose ends, so just an opportunity. See, this is why even it 2 rounds, it's the way to do it. Loose ends and then the checkout. So we've done loose ends. Time to check out. Over to you, April. Last thoughts for the good of the cause.
This has been really good. I feel well updated and like stuff is moving along in a way that way that I hope it would anyway. Yeah, that's, I think, all I have to say. Over to Ronnie.
I can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Now I can.
I don't know why it's doing that. I think our decision, I first said I think it was a good meeting. And then I said, I think our decision to collapse the guild and do this meeting is working so far. It has been only one meeting, but it seems like it's working. And that's all. Over to Roland.
My mind is blank and I'm enjoying it. Over to Ben.
I like that. I hope to join you in a blank minds shortly. So, awesome. Thank you all for being here today. We'll be seeing some of you sooner, and we'll be doing our next coordination circle in 2 weeks. And at the same time, next week, we'll be doing another navigation session. So, looking forward to that as well. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.